It's been dubbed the stamp scam. Today, we look at the first home buyer's choice and whether it's a complete ripoff or an opportunity to save big on your upfront deposit. So let's dive in. And very quickly, the first home buyer's choice is a scheme that allows you to choose between paying stamp duty upfront or an annual tax. Now, this is only available for those that are in New South Wales and allows you to purchase for up to $1.5 million or a vacant block of land for $800,000. Now, if you do opt in for the scheme, the annual tax will be made up of two components, a fixed component and a variable component. This variable component will be indexed each year, and the first index happens in July 2024, where it's really based on the value of your land. The higher the value of your land, the more you'll pay in an annual property tax fee. And this is where I personally get pretty uncomfortable with the scheme. My first question is, who gets to decide the value of your land? And secondly, there is a benefit for those that are determining the value of your land to increase it progressively, maybe even more than what it should increase, because ultimately the higher the value of your land, the more in property tax you'll pay. But let's rewind this a little bit and let's look at where land valuations have been for the past 15 years. In 2006, we can see that land valuations were a little over $2 trillion. That's to say, the total value of all land in Australia was valued at $2 trillion. Fast forward to 2021 and land valuations are now at $6.6 trillion. That's a threefold increase in 15 years. And this is exactly the problem I have with the scheme, because ultimately to determine whether or not paying the stamp duty upfront or the annual tax fee will be more beneficial will be really based on how much you have to pay in an annual tax fee. Not knowing where this will go in even 3, 5, 10 years time will mean that you can't make that upfront decision with being fully informed and knowing exactly what it'll be over that term. More importantly, people change their mind, and you might be thinking to yourself that you're only going to keep this property for, say, 3 years and then sell it and upgrade. Things change, and I see it all the time where customers, instead of wanting to sell their property, opt to keep it and make it an investment. But the problem with this scheme is you only continue to pay the annual tax, even whether it's an owner-occupied or an investment property. And as time goes on, expect this fee to increase again and again and again. If you do opt in for the scheme, it will affect your borrowing capacity. Let's take a look at the impact it'll have. Taking Ranit as an example, we can see he's buying his first home for $1.2 million and has a land valuation of $720,000. Ordinarily, the transfer duty on this purchase would be $50,200, but instead he's opted in for the annual property tax, which will be $2,560 per annum. Looking at Ranit's borrowing capacity, he's single, earning $180,000 per annum, and we can see his borrowing capacity is around the $1.12 million mark. Looking at the property tax figure as a monthly expense, it came to about $213 per month, reducing his borrowing capacity by around $32,000 at $1.094 million. And we can see that if you are taking this property tax out and your borrowing capacity is tight, it's something you're going to have to be very cautious of. And in general, the median amount of time that people hold their property for is around 10 years. And it means that when you're looking at this scheme, you really want to keep this in mind. Whilst you might think that you'll be looking to sell and upgrade your home in 3, even 4 years' time, that it's likely that at that time, with the increase in value, that you'll probably be looking at ways to keep it instead of selling it. So if you are looking at this scheme, you want to make sure you keep a lot of things in mind. Firstly, that the property tax fee will most certainly increase over time. Secondly, that if you are planning to sell, make sure that it's not a marginal net gain. That's to say that if you hold the property, that the property tax will be marginally better off than paying the stamp duty up front. If the stamp duty is marginally worse off, me personally, I'd be paying it upfront if you can afford it, because ultimately, as we know and as we've discussed, it's likely that the annual property tax fee will only increase as time progresses. Finally, it's a great opportunity for those that have a low deposit to get in without a huge upfront cost. If that is you, just make sure you're going into the scheme with your eyes open, understanding all the pros and cons of the scheme. And here at Hunter Galloway, we get home loans approved. So if you're looking for a great mortgage broker and live in Australia, we can help. Call us on 1300 088 065 or visit us online at huntergalloway.com.au. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you then.